music. Let's have some fun and we'll sing some songs. Music makes me so happy and free. Hello, hello, again, hello, hello, again, hello, hello, again. Welcome back to music. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another 4th grade music class here on the internets. Hope you all are doing well and ready for another trip down to Music World. Let's take a look at what we're going to do today in our class. So saying hello. We're going to do a little warming up of our voices and our bodies. We're going to do some Pokemon rhythms. A song called Pick a Little. We're going to use the Chrome Music Lab. Learn a little bit more about our musician of the month. And then we'll say goodbye. Now, my goals for you today. The first thing is to actually perform a full piece with our Pokemon rhythms. We're going to have lots of Pokemon rhythms to perform today to create a whole piece of music. Our new song, Pick a Little, is actually a bit of a tongue twister song, so we're going to work on our tongue twister abilities for that. And then we're going to use Chrome Music Lab at the end to fill in the blank of a familiar song. So your job is to finish the song that I have made for you in Chrome Music Lab. But for right now, let's warm it up just a little bit. If you could, let's just kind of shake out our bodies because we might have been sitting around for a long time, maybe not getting out as much. So hopefully we can get the blood flowing. So just kind of shake out one arm, shake out the other, shake out a foot, shake out the other, shake out your face, and take a deep breath and sigh. Take another deep breath and sigh. Ready? And when you sigh, it's just a chance for you to let all that exhaustion and tension and all your stress just go away. So one more time. Fantastic, fantastic. And let's do a little vocal warm-up first. Let's just kind of do a nice yawn with our voice. Yawn. And a little bit of a higher yawn. Yawn. And a really high yawn. Yawn. Good work, good work, good work. Last time, we learned a warm-up called Dwee a Babaloo. And Dwee a Babaloo is kind of a tongue twister in itself. So this will be a good warm-up for our tongue twister song later. And it sounded like this. Dwee a babaloo, dwee a babaloo, dwee a babaloo, babaloo, dwee. Dwee a babaloo, dwee a babaloo, dwee a babaloo, babaloo, dwee. And each time we sing that, our voice is going to get a little bit higher and a little bit higher. All right, so let's try that together. I'm going to play it on the melodica and try to match your voice with the pitch that's coming from my melodica. And I'm really listening for clear words. Dwee a babaloo instead of dwee a babaloo, dwee a babaloo, dwee a babaloo, babaloo, dwee. No mumbling here. Are you ready? Ready, hear you sing. Nice job. You should be feeling all warmed up, ready to sing today. Really good work, really good work. Well, let's take a trip back to last class when we looked at our favorite Pokemon. Now, these might not be your favorite Pokemon, but for today, they're going to be our favorite Pokemon because we're going to use them a lot. And we started with the Aerodactyl. Oh, over here. I get a little confused. So we started with the Aerodactyl, and then we also have the Krabby. And when we talked last time, we found out that the Aerodactyl makes 4 sounds per beat, so we can say that that rhythm that it makes is a tika tika. And our Crabby makes 2 sounds per beat, so we can say that that rhythm is a T T. Just like that. Well, what I want to do for you today is give you a whole bunch of Aerodactyls and Crabbies and use them as the building blocks to create a piece of music. So take a look here. We've got a lot of Pokemon on the board. Can you catch them all? So we're going to start in the top left, just like we were reading a book, and we're going to read across the lines and go down to the next line and down to the next line. If I were to just start at the very first Pokemon and say all of these Pokemon here, it would sound like this. Aerodactyl Crabby, Aerodactyl Crabby, Aerodactyl, Aerodactyl Crabby, Crabby, Aerodactyl, 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 Aerodactyl Crabby, 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 Crabby. I want you to try to say that with me this time too. Ready, here we say. Aerodactyl Crabby, Aerodactyl Crabby, Aerodactyl, Aerodactyl Crabby, Crabby, Aerodactyl, 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 Aerodactyl Crabby, 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 Crabby. Good. Now here's the part of the video that you might need to pause, because what I want you to do is find something that you can use as a hand drum. So for example, I've been using my oats can as sort of my makeshift drum for my music lessons at home. So take a second, go find yourself something that you can use as a hand drum. Now, make sure if it's not yours that you ask permission if you can use it. But it'd be good if you have a makeshift instrument that you can use. We call these found sounds. And so I'm going to use my oats can. You can use whatever you have at home that might be handy for you to play. So go ahead and pause the video, go get your instrument, and come back. Welcome back. Hopefully you paused the video and got your instrument. This time what I want you to do is I want you to say the Pokemon, but I also want you to play the rhythm that you're saying on your drum, or whatever it is that you're using. In my case, my oats can. Get your hands ready. 1 and 2 and ready, here we say. Aerodactyl Crabby, Aerodactyl Crabby, Aerodactyl, Aerodactyl Crabby, Crabby, Aerodactyl, 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 Aerodactyl Crabby, 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 Crabby. Not bad. Now before we switch over to using our rhythms, I'm going to try this one time by silently saying our Pokemon and playing. So no voice, but if you want to use your silent voice where I can see your lips moving, you can do that. But all the sound I want to hear is whatever sound you're using for your drum. 1 and 2 and just drumming, go. Nice job. Well, if we go back to look at our Pokemon real quick, like we said, our Aerodactyl is a Tika Tika, and our Crabby is a TT. So looking at all of our Pokemon up here, maybe in our head we can do a little bit of a translation. And how about this time, instead of saying the names of the Pokemon, we say our rhythms, okay? And actually I'm going to get rid of our Pokemon so it's a little easier to see. And can we say and drum this whole piece of music together on our makeshift drum? Get your hands ready. Starts with a Tika Tika. 1 and 2 and ready, here we say. Tika Tika Ti Ti, Tika Tika Ti Ti, Tika 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 Ti 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 Ti, Tika 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 Ti 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 Ti. Not bad. I want to do one more thing with this piece of music right here. Now, it's fun to play on our drum, but it can get a little boring and repetitive if we're only just playing the rhythm and not really thinking about other things that we can do musically. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some dynamics. So I'm going to play it either softer or louder. And I think what I want to do this time is I'm going to do every other line soft and loud. So the first line, tika tika ti ti tika tika ti ti, I'm going to play soft. The second line, tika 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 ti 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 ti, I'll play loud. The next line I'll play soft, and the last line I'll play loud. And see if you can play it along with me. I'm just going to use the drum. I'm not going to say the rhythm this time. So see if you can do that. Soft, loud, just on the drum. 1 and 2, and ready, beginning. Not bad, not bad. So if you want to have a little fun with this, you can pause this screen so you have the rhythm up there and try to create your own versions of this. You can use different dynamics. You can use different ways to make it more interesting. You could even use different sounds for different parts of the song. But, have some fun with these rhythms and experiment with it. All right. Nice job. So I'm going to say goodbye to my oats can here. And I'm going to teach you guys a new song, or at least I'm going to begin to teach it to you all today. And it's a song called Pick a Little, Talk a Little. All right? And as you notice right here on the words, it's a lot of the same words over and over again, but it goes a little fast. And it sounds like this if I do the whole thing. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, tick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 cheap. Just like that. Now you notice I repeat the whole top part, the first 4 lines. I do that all 3 times. The last time, I do the first 2 lines, and then I skip the cheap, cheap, talk a lot, pick a little more part, and I jump down to the end, which is all just cheap, 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 cheap. Okay? So repeat after me. Let's get our voices nice and loose and ready to do a little tongue twister. Pick a little, talk a little, talk a little. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little more. Talk a lot, pick a little more, talk a lot, pick a little more. Cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more. Cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little. My turn. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, ready, go. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more. Even I got a little tongue-tied there. All right, let's keep the beat. And let's try saying just those first 4 lines together. Ready? Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more. Now, this last time we do it, instead of doing the cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, you're going to jump down to the little second part where you've got the 8 cheaps in a row. So it'll be like this. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 cheap. Just like that. All right? Now, some of you might be going, Mr. Houchin, this is ridiculous. This is very hard to say. Some of you might be thinking, I can say it faster. So for those of you who are ready to say it faster, try it with me. 1 and 2, do the whole thing, go. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheap, 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 cheap. You want to go faster? All right, you suggested it. 1 and 2, and ready. Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheep, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheep, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheep, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more, cheep, a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheep, 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 cheep. Now, if you messed up going that fast, that's okay. I did too. Whew, that's a little fast. So, over the next week, why don't you play around with this one and see how it goes for you and see if you could maybe make it work. Maybe you can say it a little faster. And next week, what I'll do is I'll teach you how to sing it along with the melody that goes with it. All right, we've almost made it to the end of our music class. Now, last week, I gave you a little assignment to add in some drums to some Chrome Music Lab, and some of you sent that back to me and commented on your Google Classrooms. That was awesome. This week, I have another task for you. I went over to the Song Maker in Chrome Music Lab, and I started writing a melody that I think most of us know, and I didn't finish it. And what I want you to do this week is to take the link of the song that I started and see if you can finish it. Now, you have a couple of choices. If you know the song, you're like, I know how this goes, you can finish it and make it sound beautiful and perfect. Maybe you haven't heard this song before, and you're like, oh, I don't know how it's supposed to end. I'm going to give you the option to create your own ending for it. And then maybe you finish, and you're like, you know what? This song needs a few more notes, needs a few more drums. Go ahead and add that too, and share with me what you come up with, because I bet some of you might have some really creative ways to sort of finish this song for us. So here is the song that I want you to finish. Take a look up here. See if I can get it to go. So your job is, what song is that and how can you finish it? I'm going to put the link to that song in the description of this video as well as in your Google Classrooms. Take a listen to it and see if you can figure it out. The last thing I want to share with us today is a little bit more of our Musician of the Month. Hopefully you enjoyed last week listening to The Roots. Now, The Roots have become kind of internet famous over the past few years because they are actually what we call the house band on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So every night they're on TV playing live with Jimmy Fallon on his talk show. And one of the things that they do on that show quite often is they collaborate, we talked about that word last week, they collaborate with the musical guest of the show. Now, sometimes it's a famous musician, sometimes it's maybe one you haven't heard of, but the way that they collaborate, instead of just playing with them normally, is they actually make a video where they basically find a music classroom, kind of like ours at the Brown, and they take all the instruments, and they were like, well, what if we played your famous song, but we played it with classroom instruments? So here is The Roots, Jimmy Fallon, and the singer Camila Cabello performing the song Havana on classroom instruments.
Ooh, I like that. Havana, ooh, na, na. Half of my heart is in Havana, ooh, na, na. He took me back to East Atlanta, na, na, na. Half of my heart is in Havana. There's something about his manners. Havana, ooh, na, na. He didn't walk up with that how you doing. Where you getting? Said there's a lot of girls I can do with. But I get with us. Going forever in a minute. That's the man on it. And Papa says he's got Milo in him. He got me feeling like ooh, 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 ooh. I knew it when I met him. I loved it when I left him. Got me feeling like ooh, 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 ooh. And then I had to tell him I had to go. Oh, na, 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 na. Havana, ooh, na, na. Half of my heart is in Havana, ooh, na, na. Hey, he took me back to Atlanta, na, na, na. Half of my heart is in Havana. My heart is in Havana. 2, 3, 4.
So, that was The Roots with Camila Cabello and a bunch of classroom instruments. All right, fourth grade. Thanks for joining me today. We are off next week for April vacation, but I'll be back in 2 weeks with another video lesson for you all. In the meantime, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay musical. Thank you again. Thank you again. Thank you again. Thank you for music. Thank you again. Thank you again. Thank you again. Thank you for music. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks, and have a pleasant day.